Good morning, everyone. Happy Thursday morning to you, and welcome back to Morning Musings. Hey, don't forget that in a couple of weeks, I'm going to begin debunking the book, Debunking Preterism by Dr. Brock Holland. We just did a review, response, and refutation to the book Mystery Babylon by Joel Richardson. And that book is full, absolutely chock full, of anachronisms, of logical fallacies, of hermeneutical violations, exegetical failures. If anything, this book is worse. I'll just simply tell you that at this point. The unfounded claims, the presuppositional theology, the violation of logic that is found in Dr. Hollett's book is literally quite astounding. So be looking for it in a couple of weeks. I'm going to begin a review and a debunking of Debunking Preterism. All right. Well, as I promised, today we're going to finalize. This will be our last video on the new creation in the book of Revelation. It summarizes, or it completes, really, in a way, our study of the resurrection. Because you see, the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 would bring in the new creation. That's what Revelation chapter 20, 10 and 11, it's the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15. It occurs at the end of the millennium. And so, if and since we've been able to show that the new creation of Revelation comes at the time of the destruction of the old creation, and a comparison of Revelation chapter 20, chapter 16, and chapter 6, and by the way, we've really honestly only touched the hem of the garment on this, but that comparative study proves beyond a shadow of a doubt that the creation was to be destroyed at the fall of Jerusalem in AD 70. But there's another aspect that absolutely, definitively proves this. Why and how? It is the fact that Revelation chapter 20, verses 1 to 4, we have the initial enthronement of martyrs. But they are enthroned to wait for a, quote, 1,000 years. What comes at the end of the 1,000 years? The final judgment, the destruction of Satan, their persecutor. In other words, the end of the millennium is their final, full, glorious vindication. Okay. Then consider that the end of the millennium, the destruction of the old creation, the resurrection, and the new creation arrives at the time of the full vindication of the martyrs. Guess what? That's what we find in Revelation chapter 16. In the judgment of Babylon, we are told, "Rejoice, O you prophets, because God has avenged you on her. He has judged the great whore." That's a paraphrase. So Revelation chapter 16, which is the great day of the Lord's wrath, and let's not forget, Revelation chapter 11 is the day of the Lord's wrath at the resurrection in vindication of the martyrs. So you have Revelation chapter 20, the end of the millennium, the destruction of heaven and earth, the resurrection, the new creation, vindication of martyrs. You have Revelation chapter 16, the great day of the Lord's wrath at the judgment of Babylon and the destruction of creation. You have Revelation chapter 11, which is the great day of the resurrection in vindication of the martyrs, the day of the Lord's wrath. You have Revelation chapter 6, the vindication of the martyrs at the great day of the Lord's wrath when heaven and earth fled away. You see, folks, there's a constant, unbroken, it's like a bloody red river or thread, if you please, that runs through Revelation, and it's all about the vindication of the martyrs. You know, I was absolutely stunned the other day when a former preterist denied that all of the blood of all of the righteous was filled up in the first century by the Jews in the persecution of Jesus and his saints. Can you imagine anyone becoming so desperate as to deny that? What did Jesus say? In Matthew chapter 23, standing in the temple, Jesus said to those Jews at that time, "Fill up then the measure of your father's guilt. Behold, I send to you," pardon me, "wise men, scribes. Some of them you shall crucify, some of them you shall scourge. You will chase them from city to city, that upon you may come all of the righteous blood of all of the righteous, from righteous Abel unto Zechariah, son of Barachias, whom you slew between the temple and the altar. Verily I say unto you, all of these things will come upon this generation." All of the blood of all of the righteous, all the way back to creation, and we're supposed to reject that testimony? The desperation of those who abandon the truth of covenant eschatology never ceases to amaze me. It is utterly incredible. But do you see how that fits Revelation absolutely perfectly? That is, the theme of the vindication of the martyrs. Now, look, I developed this entire concept in my book, Who is This Babylon? And there's some other books that have been written. They can be found on my website that develop this concept extremely well. Sam Dawson recently wrote a fantastic book on the book of Revelation, on the avenging of the blood of the martyrs that starts in Genesis chapter 4, goes all the way through Revelation, and shows that consistent, harmonious, united testimony that it's not about some end-of-time vindication. It was the vindication that Jesus spoke about that was coming in AD 70. Now, what does that mean? It means that in Revelation chapter 20, when we have the vindication of the martyrs after the 1,000-year reign, and we have the passing of heaven and earth, and we have the coming of the new heaven and the new earth at the time of the resurrection, since the vindication of all of those martyrs occurred in AD 70, and since the vindication of the martyrs would come at the end of the millennium, since the vindication of the martyrs would come at the time of the passing of the old creation, since the vindication of the martyrs would come at the time of the new creation, i.e., the vindication of the martyrs would occur at the time of the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15, that means, without any doubt whatsoever, that the resurrection of 1 Corinthians 15 occurred at the judgment of Old Covenant Israel and Jerusalem in AD 70. Once again, let me urge you to get a copy of my book, Who is This Babylon? All of this information and more is here. You'll be astounded at the clarity of the evidence. So go to my website, DonKPreston.com, BibleProphecy.com, order the book, send me a note saying that you saw the offer on YouTube or Facebook, and I will pay your shipping. Well, thank you so much for joining me for this morning's Morning Musings. Don't forget, a couple of weeks, we're going to begin debunking Dr. Brock Hollett's book, Debunking Preterism. A couple of weeks away. Be looking for it. And if you've read the book, okay, if you've read the book, if you think he made a great point here or there, send me an email telling me, hey, Don, what about his point on page da-da-da-da? And I'll address those points, okay? Thanks again for joining me. You have a fantastic weekend. Be safe. Hope to see you on Monday.